This initiative is really an important initiative because it came from a conversation with John about what's happening in the Caribbean and how it is that as artists we are so disconnected, although we seem to be connected with the work. The idea to have a chat session and seek resources and excellence from ourselves rather than doing the normal thing of having an expert flown in to give us the answers. That was really how this initiative started. It basically, my desires were to ask artists a renewing of spirit, to come back with young artists and to collaborate with young artists living in the region is an absolute dream come true. This weekend has been so self-validating. Let me first of all be selfish and talk about what it does for me. Self-validating in terms of my definition as a Caribbean woman. I talk all the time about being born in Jamaica, but I really don't define myself as a Jamaican anymore. I could possibly live anywhere in the region, anytime.
I'm from New York.
The Bahamas. I'm white. A white Bahamian.
I was physically born in England. My parents are Jamaican. And I've been living in the U.S. since I was 8 years old.
I'm African American, and I'm an American, and I'm an African. I'm a black woman, so there you go.
I am from, I was born in Miami. My parents are Cuban descendants.
I'm from New Providence, Bahamas. My mother is from Eleuthera, Bannerman Town.
In and around New York City since I was 2 years old.
I'm from Nassau, New Providence.
I was born in Cuba.
I'm from Jamaica.
Jamaica. I've grown up in Miami. I was born in Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic, and my father and all his family's from there, and my mother's family's from Colombia.
My father's Haitian, my mother's French, and I was born and raised in El Paso, Texas.
I'm from Grenada.
I'm from Nassau, Bahamas.
I'm a seed of Jamaica, but I was birthed in the Bahamas.
In China. I'm of mixed descent. My mom is from Long Island, Bahamas. My father is from Suffolk, England.
I am from Barbados. Yeah, I think being of mixed descent, whatever that means, has kind of always made me shy away from picking a label. And so I don't think I do define myself ethnically. Maybe I do nationally. And I think that if you're continuing to search for some kind of identity, ethnically is not necessarily where I go to first. It becomes interesting background information. I didn't have a great connection with that. But what I think it means now, after exploring this, is that being part of a diaspora means that you're a feeder. You feed off of and you give food to. And I think that's what I like to do with my work.
Diaspora is very important in my work because the Caribbean is a place where everybody came from somewhere. And in all of these people coming from somewhere, we all brought with us our icons and symbology and meanings and so on. And in my work, I use the symbols actually are African. You know, in the Caribbean itself, it's like we have no memory of the things that made us. And so I think it's important for the work. I think it's important in the work for the diaspora. It shows the ways that we're connected without knowing it. And, you know, the symbols sort of reteach us who we are.
I'm most interested in how transcultural processes kind of cross-pollinate throughout the Caribbean and in Latin America. So I work a lot with to kind of self-identify within kind of a global context. So what kind of cultures are being created that truly cross national boundaries?
I think maybe 10 years ago it was a bit of a challenge to sort of find obvious symbols, obvious sort of rhythms in the work that I could connect myself with. But now, I think, since time's passing and then the work's changing and sort of I'm seeing what I did maybe 6-7 years ago, I can sort of identify my place sort of in a smaller context within the Bahamas, and then sort of gradually expand that to the region, and then and sort of rhythms that occur in the work.
My work relates to the concept of diaspora in terms of being interdisciplinary and being very mixed, so that the movement involves stillness, the text is very visual, the readings involve song in the same way that I am of all of these different places at the same time, and they all kind of come together.
I'm really interested in memory and history, and I'm becoming, as time progresses, I'm becoming more interested in my history as an African American. I think before I sort of denied it class, and I became very conscious of my skin color, but also of my place in society. So I'm really interested in tracing the history of African Americans, and especially a lot of like working class, everyday African Americans. And to narrow that down even more, I'm very interested in the rituals that have taken place among African Americans, particularly like mystical rituals and rituals that deal with
And so most of my work is two-dimensional. Some of it, I do collage and so on, so it becomes, towards three-dimensional, but really, primarily, I'm a painter.
I am a printmaker. I specialize in lithographs and etchings.
I create mixed media installational large-scale work.
I make poetry. I'm a text and performance artist. And I also make dances. I'm also a movement-based performance artist.
I make mainly installations, and they consist of works that are very fragile and minimalist in its form. So they jewelry.
Mixed media, mostly a lot of silkscreen and other printmaking methods mixed with drawing and painting, mostly on a large scale. Some sculpture.
I'm a musician, so I write music. Music is my art.
I do work that's centered around the body, and so I can't really, it's a very fluid way of defining what type of art I make. I do a lot of performative work, and it exists through the documentation. So I do some sort of earth-based installations, and it's
mosaics.
I make paintings, and I'm starting to do installations.
I sing, I make music, that's what I do. And then I do fashion design and stuff too. And I write everything. I write movies, songs, poems, stories, novels, how-to articles, whatever. So, yeah.
I would say I use all different types of media to express whatever concept I'm working on, and it could be from an installation involving construction to pieces that I'm working on right now are beaded and embroidered canvases.
Could be a simple fragment of information that just occurs, and the story comes from that. So I guess I tell stories. I mean, that's it.
I'm a musician. I craft different sounds that I hear in my head into some sort of auditory expression, I guess.
Academically, I guess my background is more in painting, but really I'm still studying, and I don't like to be limited to anything. I take every pretty much course I possibly can.
I make jewelry. I'm a documentary photographer.
I'm a spoken word artist.
tattooed my poems of pain on my wrist, thinking that the razor blade would be kinder to my solace than I would, that it could not cut the ink of my soul. I tattooed my poems of pain on my wrist and I let you read them. And you said that it was good. And I internalized this to mean that maybe there's some goodness in me. But when I had no more poems to read to you, and I had no ways to extort accolades from you, my loneliness returned onto me, and I had no inkling how to research my pathology, so I sought capital punishment by giving my body to trees, chemicals not to be forgotten. And I cowered in the bed, feeling like a coward because I didn't want to leave this encasing, and I didn't want to stay in it either. I just wanted the pain to stop. And I believe that most people just want the pain to stop. A confession of your state of confusion without a state of shame is a very difficult thing to do. So I constructed small pockets of friendships, thinking that their happiness would keep me hanging on. And at times this was more trouble than what it was worth, because by that tile, and then I looked at my wrist and the words began to scream without rising above a whisper, saying that I come to you in a form of a voice that doesn't fit your size, and you mislabel it loneliness when it is really truth. I have given you this vesture so you can feel the voicelessness for others. And I resurrected 100 woman warriors in you when you thought you couldn't go on. I have made you hard-headed for the fist that you throw at yourself, and then the words ceased. And I began to listen. I am creation, and you think that you can kill me in the breath. Something or another kept me hanging on and conquering. Woo!
So to be here with people who have signed on in indelible ink, to have these conversations from Friday through Sunday without anybody pulling them and nudging at them and encouraging them, a free flow dialogue about work. How is the work being produced? Where is it being produced?
And I guess my process is I kind of observe what's going on and try and interpret it into a performance value, insert my opinion, maybe cause some controversy, and try and give a powerful performance. At the end of the day, I want the performance to be like, wow, okay, that was cool, you know, and sometimes I want to offend people.
Usually when something comes to me, like maybe a melody, or I might be sitting down somewhere and I don't know, it's not socially responsible to be speaking about those stuff in public, you know, but when are you going to speak about it?
I am influenced by the fact that I know how to handle a sewing machine, and I can create with a tool that's not considered an artistic tool. And I am influenced by my arsenal of memories and things that happen around me every day. When the story repeats a lot, like across the board, people of different color and
sort of physical. Like I said, the works are quite large. There's a lot of wood involved and mixing of different materials, wood and found objects and things like that. So there's a lot of assemblage kind of things going on. So as far as process, that's how it works. Even with the two-dimensional works, the layers are built up, and that comes from I think my history was silkscreen. I did a lot of silkscreening when I was in school.
Well, largely the process of printmaking itself it's an institution within itself, because
anthropologist. I'm interested in cultures of the world. I'm interested in architecture, and that usually describes the manifestation of the pieces in installation.
I'm working with precious metals, precious stones for the most part. I also include some lesser metals such as copper in the work. I'm working with techniques that are not necessarily commercial based. They're labor intensive, what are called studio techniques.
3 years ago, I became a homeowner, and that necessity is the mother of invention. And one of the things that I found is that making beautiful things that are functional just fit really well into who I am and where I was at that point. And now that I'm have moved on from that, and now I'm just making pretty things, and that means that, but I think if something can be useful and beautiful at the same time, I think that really drives me big time. And so I'm really into furniture and
young people who have talent, who have decided that this is what they want to do. Not only do they need confirmation of their decision, they need to have a community that they can pull from. But I think that we are not philanthropic in our thinking in seeking funding for some of the initiatives. For artists to leave a little country like the Bahamas and go to Germany to show their work in such a contemporary language, it means that something good is happening in the Caribbean. I think that not only have we proven that this is a viable conversation, but that the conversation has to continue. And the resources have to be, I think it would be nice to have partnerships that would agree that this, but in that dialogue there's a lot in between, and our artists are our storytellers, and they will continue to tell the story in their truth. Are we ready to hear the answers? I'm not sure.